In today's first reading from the Acts of the Apostles, we hear of an account of how the early Christians lived in community, striving to share with one another all that they possessed. St. Luke, the author of the Acts of the Apostles, tells us that all of those who believed were of one mind and of one heart, and no one claimed possessions as his or her own. As a result, no one was wanting for anything. They were all satisfied. It is rare in the world today to find such a living environment where all is held in common. In the typical American society that we live in today, we oftentimes are judged by our possessions. How big is your house? What kind of car do you have? What kind of clothes do you wear? About electronics. How big is your flat screen TV? Or can your cell phone or your iPad do all the things that mine can do? So unfortunately, many times in the American secular society, we are programmed to accumulate stuff, things that we consider to be our possessions. And our perception of success is oftentimes tied to these possessions. How much can I accumulate? This is my stuff. There's a saying sometimes I see on bumper stickers on cars that says, "The one who dies with the most toys is the winner." Clearly, this does not define the story we hear from St. Luke in today's first reading. Today, we might find people who live in community, maybe in a commune or in a kibbutz, and they may strive to share all they have so that no one possesses, but it's a common ownership. Another example might be those who belong to certain religious orders, both men or women, who have taken a vow of poverty and thus claim no earthly possessions to themselves. But these groups probably constitute much less than 1% of the population in the United States today. However, there is a large group within the United States, and around the world actually, who are called to completely share their earthly possessions in a very special way. And I'm referring to married couples. That is, a man and a woman united in holy matrimony. And in our Catholic tradition, the marriage between a man and a woman is a sacred covenant, a lifetime commitment that is patterned after God's relationship with his people. This matrimonial covenant is raised to the level of a sacrament by Christ, so that all the graces that are needed to support the good of the couple can be provided. Interestingly, the first public miracle of Christ was at the wedding of Cana, where he changed water into wine as the wine was running out. As with so many other couples on their wedding day, the day my wife, Barbara, and I were married, the priest said, "What God has joined, let no man put asunder." We left our parents, each of us, to join to each other to become of one heart and one mind, just as we hear in the reading today about the early Christians. All of our earthly possessions were no longer ours. They were together ours. Not his, not hers, but ours. Early on, we went to the bank and we opened up a joint checking account. Everything that I owned was for her. Everything that she owned was for me. We had complete trust and love for one another. We became an intimate community of love and of life. And from that intimate union of marriage, becoming one flesh, we were blessed with children. And they joined us to become this tiny community of love. We all became a very tiny, small, domestic church, rooted in God's love. For God is love. The early Christian community gave of themselves for the good of each member, and not for themselves individually. They became one in Christ. Possessions, those things of the earth, fade. They're transient. However, those things of heaven, they last forever. Marriage, that is, two becoming one, can be an example of that ideal early Christian community where all were considered as one. I am reminded each day when I take time to look at the wedding band on my finger that was blessed on the day of my marriage to my wife. My loving and very wise wife had inscribed on the inside of our rings the words, "We are one." We ask God to bless each married couple today, like those early Christian communities we heard about in the first reading, that all married couples may strive to be of one heart and one mind in the love of Christ.